Hey guys, Nathan from Foundersuite here. Today's episode is with Guy Elitzur of Vertical Field, a very cool concept. His vision is to cover the world's skyscrapers with vertical organic farms. So picture a city, instead of just glass and steel, you have vertical farms covering all the buildings, a great potential way to feed the world's growing population. If you like this kind of content, I have a personal favor to ask. Please hit that subscribe button and leave a comment. Let me know what you like to see more of. If you subscribe, you can then email me, info@foundersuite.com, and we will send you our list of the 250 most active VC investors, or if you prefer, a list of the 200 most active angel investors. So hit that subscribe button, email us. For now, sit back, enjoy the show, and have a great day.
Welcome to How I Raised It, the podcast that goes behind the scenes with entrepreneurs who've raised capital. We uncover the tips, tricks, and techniques they use to get investors to write a check. Strap in and turn it up.
Hi, welcome to another episode of How I Raised It, produced by Foundersuite.com. Today I have Guy Elitzur of Vertical Field coming to us from, see if I can do this, Ra'anana, Israel.
Super.
Got it? Okay.
Yeah.
That wasn't too bad. How are you today?
I'm fine. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. I'm pretty excited about what you guys are up to. I think it's really interesting. So let's get right to it. What is Vertical Field?
So in Vertical Field, we have the vision that the life in the city will look and feel completely different. Whether it's the building that we are building or establishing, or whether it's the food we are consuming. So definitely looking at the future of cities, we definitely understand that part of the food will need to be grown inside the city. More people are coming into the city, land and water become more precious, and we definitely need to find different alternatives of how to grow our food. And within vertical farming, we have developed a vertical farm that knows how to grow crops in a very efficient way, in a very healthy way, in a way that it integrates into the life of the city and can be done as close to the consumer, taking into account the speed and the lifestyle that we're having today.
And so let's dig into it a little more. The images on the website, verticalfield.com, are really cool. Just picture, for anyone listening, a I don't know, 10-story building with kind of a vertical wall of edible plants. I guess that's what it is on the outside. So talk about what how do you do it? First of all, I have so many questions. How do you do it? What's the innovative part? What's the IP you've created? And let's start with that.
Okay, so let me just explain that we have two segments of operation. One is the vertical landscaping, which that's basically is a vertical horticulture, whether it's green walls, green roofs. We use that not just as a design feature, but as a feature that adds value to the building. Whether it's reduction of temperature of a building, whether it's a reduction of heat islands, helping to the sick building syndrome that we all know, and basically provide different structure that the life in the city will have less harmful impact on the environmental and human health. So that's one segment. The other segment is the vertical farming, which we have developed a vertical farm inside the containers. The main IP, or the main, I would say, the innovation from our side is all about the farming, the way that you plant, the way that you harvest. Living in the city is completely different. This is not the hardcore of agriculture. You don't have farmers, you don't have agriculture or agronomists. Any people potentially can grow his own food. Any people needs to know how to grow his own food. And what we have developed is a specific and unique proprietary growing platform, geophonic one, which means a soil-based platform. We do believe that soil needs to be grown on its natural substrate. And based on that, basically, we have developed the platform that allows the entire farming to be much more friendly, much easier. You don't have to bring any farming background in order to manage the farms or in order to grow the green walls. And at the end of the day, it has to be economic, whether it's a landscaping or a farming.
Mm-hmm. Is it typically for new construction, or would you retrofit an existing building for this? And I guess how tall is relevant? I mean, you wouldn't do a skyscraper, right? Or where does this really fit?
So the landscaping, basically, it's a never-ending story. You can put as many as you want. We have a 15 or 20 floor building, one of the corporate that we build there. I think more than an acre on the south and the east part of the building. They're not using curtain, because that's an element that reduces the sun impact. There is a huge biodiversity inside the vertical forest, what we call there. And basically, there is a direct impact on the welfare of the employees altogether. And by the way, we have established that in a way that it's a funny story, because we have established that in a way that the management of the corporate ask us to operate it. Mm-hmm. So we have our own team that comes there every couple of weeks to manage to maintain the vertical forest, and we find ourselves being asked by employees to join us to the maintenance. So at the end of the days, our team is sitting aside, and the employees of the corporate is doing all the gardening and the cutting and the sitting. I think that's part of therapy that they are looking for. Besides of sitting in front of the computer 8, 9, 12 hours a day, it's like half an hour that they are taking a day. Initially, it was initiation of the employees, and later on, it became structure because it was so much demands to be involved in that. So management decided to have it more structured. So we have all kind of employees that are joining and involving in this vertical gardening in this corporate. So we have indoor, we have outdoor, we have big building, we have small building, we have walls, we have gardens, we're doing also roofs. And in all that elements, we're trying not just to bring the benefits of the design, but also the benefits of either environmental impact or human health, whether it's a welfare or any types of other human health impact that plants are doing. And in a way that you're doing that vertical, you're not capturing too much space. So you can grow a lot of plants and a lot of gardening over there without capturing space, too much space.
Yeah, interesting. So you've got a building owner owns the building. You've got a company leasing space in that. You've got you guys come and install this, and then you've got some of the employees kind of working on it with you guys. So who takes the food home? Who gets the food ultimately?
Well, it depends on the corporate. Either we are harvest that and put it in the kitchen of the corporate, or in some cases even the employees are taking that home on the weekend, whatever. Again, at the end of the day, it's a decision of the company, of the corporate. We're doing that on existing building. We are doing that as part of new project in the country. A few I would say big buildings in the countries, and I think that what we're seeing here in Israel, but also in other places, is there regulations support this process, meaning they are give you all kind of benefits if you add these types of vertical gardening on top of the buildings, whether it's more space to build or any types of city tax reduction or any types of benefits. So the entrepreneurs will have the I would say the incentive to add more and more on that stuff, and we see it in more and more new projects in the center of Tel Aviv, in the center of Jerusalem, and also in New York.
Yeah, it's interesting. One little data point near my office here in Marin, California, Amy's, which is this healthy fast food company, just built a restaurant, and when I was watching it being constructed, I'm like, what are they doing to the roof? And it turns out they planted all these flowers on the roof. They put all these pots, the entire angled roof is covered in plants. And now the restaurant just opened about 2 months ago, and now it's all blooming on top of the roof. I'm like, wow, that's really cool. And this used to be a Denny's, right? This was a Denny's restaurant that they tore down and converted into this. So it's really cool. I mean, it's one little data point. It's actually the only time I've seen something like what you're describing. So pretty cool. Are you guys, so you said Israel, New York. I was going to ask where are you operating?
So we have some operation in East Europe, Russia, Ukraine. We start working in the UAE right now, and more to come, I guess, in the next few months.
Cool. And I guess, is it sold as what's the business model? Are you selling this as a design and implementation and a maintenance contract as well, or what?
So it varies. It varies between the customers and the countries. Either we are doing from A to Z, meaning we are part of the design, part of the planning, part of the collecting all the subcontractors and suppliers and executing that all the way, including maintenance. And in some cases, we're just providing our product and technology, and somebody else is implementing that and maintenance. So we are quite flexible in terms of the business model. At the end of the day, what's important to us is to integrate more and more such products and vertical landscape in more project. And in some cases, it makes much more sense to work with already somebody that is part of this building or is part of establishing this building and planning that, rather than doing ourselves from A to Z. But that's also something that we're doing. Depends on the will and wish of the customers and the project itself.
Cool. Yeah. All right. It's definitely, I like this concept of the employees having a little break to go garden and work on it. When COVID hit, I planted my first garden ever, and it's still paying off. I had a big kale salad last night from my garden.
Nice. That's a great satisfaction, by the way. You can see the smile on the face of the employees. You're getting much more satisfied employees, much more fun, and it's a great break in the middle of the day, and then they're much more motivated to go back and to be involved in the work itself. For
yeah, sure. I bet COVID has really been a boost to overall, gardening, right? Overall, I know seeds were sold out a lot of places, so that's a sign.
Right.
Talk about so maybe mention how COVID's affected your business, good, bad, otherwise.
Well, COVID shuffled all the cards, right, for all of us in every country in the world. It was amazing, just amazing, this shuffling of the cards. In many aspects, it accelerated the process. I mean, the issue of understanding that you have to integrate nature into part of the living, gardening, as you mentioned. People bought much more, establishing much more gardening, understand the importance of plants in part of their life. From one side. From the other side, we saw more customers are worrying of the quality of the food, the freshness of the food. They start asking themselves how many hands touch the foods. And where you see the farms outside of the supermarkets, and it seems sterilized, and there's only one person that deals the entire process. It gives you a higher comfort of the safety and the level of quality of the food. From I would say another angle, it was the retail angle, where they have difficulties to get constant supply, no trucks, no flights. All of that was a bit limited, and part of that, they were concerned on crisis mode. What if and how they're going to supply food? And again, part of the fact that you can grow your own food outside of supermarket, out in your parking lot, gives you a comfort that even in crisis like COVID, we're able to provide constant food with all the benefits of that. So COVID definitely, I would say, emphasized and accelerated the processes that's happening, right? Because more and more consumer are aware of level of nutrition, level of vitamins, all of that stuff. But I think in this case, especially, it accelerated the awareness and accelerated implementation of innovation around this area.
Interesting. And last question, then I want to talk about raising capital a bit, but what was your background? Are you a farmer or a scientist or just a business guy or what?
So, you started with finance and you moved to background. So I'm a CPA, I have a financial background. In the global ag space for more than a decade. I was a CEO of a biopesticide company. With a lot of luck, I had the opportunity to be involved in innovation around agriculture that wants to change the way that agriculture is behaving, is operating. And I think biological pesticides definitely bring something new to the entire crop cycles. And vertical farming is part of that, of changing the entire way that we grow our own food in a way that we have a less harmful impact on the land and earth. and of course, higher quality and less harmful food for the humankind. And I'm feeling very lucky to be part of that in the last decade.
How long, what's the big vision? And maybe that starts to get into the pitch to investors, but like, how far off in the future is a time when we'll drive into a city or take our autonomous drone into the city and see it kind of covered with plants, right? And is this a 30-year plan or a 50-year plan, or, is it something that could happen sooner? Like, I don't know.
It's the $1 million question, right? Or the $10 million question. How quick it will happen. There was once, I think that if, I see two drivers here. One is regulation, right? The regulator has to speed up, to motivate, to incentivize the entrepreneur, the retailers to bring more innovation in that space. And the other side is the consumer. If he's going to demand, look, I don't want my building to be without at least 15% of vertical farming, or without vertical landscaping or garden or whatever. I think that will entrepreneurs and construction company will make sure that they meet these standards. So going back into the numbers, how many years it's going to happen? I believe that we see, you look at Singapore, you look at China, even in some of the European countries, you see more and more mayors of the big cities are demanding to change regulation. And more roofs are being covered either by gardens or by farms, and more space for green. And so it already happens. I believe that in the next decade, 15 years, we're going to see more and more space. And I think regulation will support it, and we'll have a strict, I would say, demand for a certain percentage of that. I think it will make our whole life completely different. And, hundreds of years ago, we ran away from jungles and forests into the city, right? Now we forgot all nature out of that. I think we have to bring nature back, and it's happening gradually. Hopefully it will happen more and more. And, unfortunately, COVID accelerated part of understanding. It was COVID, but I hope that even after the day after COVID, people won't forget that, and they will push on accelerating the process of having our city more green and more nature and more healthy and fresh food with as minimal as possible bad impact on Earth.
Yeah, interesting. All right, let's talk about raising money. How much have you guys raised, and how many rounds?
So it's quite, I would say, a phenomenon at our case. We have raised almost $20 million so far from a single family office.
Interesting.
It's an impact. Yeah, it's an impact fund held by a Georgian billionaire that invests most of his resources into impact technology, and we are one of that. And I think that he believes that definitely life needs to be changed, and part of bringing food, water, and other technology in a different ways. That's part of his belief. Is super long-termish. Is super interesting in pushing the company into different countries, different continents. And I guess we're going to look for new investors in the future, but there will be more strategic investors rather than financial investors.
So this family office impact fund sounds like the perfect fit. How did you identify and get in? How did you find this family office and individual, I guess, who's behind it? Because it seems like a pretty niche player. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. It's a bit unique, and you need part of luck in that aspect. We were talking with VCs, with PEs, with many types of investors, whether angels or private, because we have from one side the more mature business, which is the landscaping, on the other side the small startup, which is the farming. It's a mix of mature and small and startup business all together, so we could map and address different types of investors. I think at the end of the day, it was a question of we felt we need the right person with the right vision, with more, I would say, long-termish view and a patience to grow business and to do R&D properly and to bring innovation. I think we find the right person at that stage, and it truly keep being true believers and supporter of the company.
Okay. So talk about your fundraising process when you decided to raise some money for this. You just started circulating this idea with local Israeli VCs, and that led you to the family office, or what?
Yeah, so we spoke with some VCs, with some private investors and angels. And the Israeli market is a very small market at the end of the day. Everybody knows everyone, and everybody knows the investment agenda of the others. And they felt that the profile of us will fit to his profile of investment. So they introduced us to him. And one thing led with the others, and we found ourselves being held and being invested by this person. It was a mix, I think, with the timing that he was looking for to do something in farming and agriculture, because he had some technology in water, technology in other spaces of solar and stuff like that. But he was eagerly looking to do some investment on the ag space. And I think that bringing agriculture and blurring the line between agriculture and retailing sounds to him something very potent and very, I would say, very true to where the food chain is going. I think that's what sounds to him very appealing, and that's the main reason, on top of people, of course, and the team and all of that. That was something that was very appealing and triggering to do the investments.
Can we state the name? I think PitchBook listed as Beer Itzhak. Is that correct?
Right. The family office called Bear Itzhak.
Bear Itzhak.
Right. And the person behind it is Dr. Michael Mirashvili.
Okay. I'll never be able to repeat that, but okay, good.
Michael, right? Easy. And Dr. Michael Michashvili.
Fair enough. Interesting. Cool. Now it's an impact fund. So I guess when you're pitching them, how much of a financial return versus sort of the doing good for the world. What did your pitch look like? Let's maybe ask it like that,
Okay, so I'm pitching. It's a good point. You cannot disconnect one from the other. I mean, you cannot disconnect vision, how the food chain is going to look like in 20 years, how the vertical farming is going to look like, what's your differentiation point, and the USP, and all of that elements. At the end of the day, it all comes to economic. And if the economic doesn't make sense, all the vision and the pitch before you lost the person. And I think that if you build up the pitch properly, I can just share from my experience. If you pitch up, you're talking about the vision, you're talking about the industry, you're talking about the company, you're talking about where you are different from the others, and then you say why you are different, not just on the technology side, but also on the economic side, and then to explain why the economic makes sense, why the customers will take the offer quite fast, why the deployment is super fast, why the ROI ratio is super fast. I think all of that, at the end of the day, if that makes sense, now you can make a mistake in a few months here and there, a few percentage here or there, but if it makes sense at the end of the day, and then you go back and he likes the vision, then you have everything tailored up.
Yeah.
And you have, I would say, engaged investors.
Yeah. How many installations did you have when you went out to raise money?
So on the landscaping, we have hundreds of installation. On the farming, none. But we did have I would say, prototype of the farming. And I think he liked the mix of bringing two types of technology, two types of segment to the same customer, to the same eco space, which is the city. And again, food together with human health and environmental impact. I think that what was a triangle that was very appealing to him. But at the end of the day, it's an issue of trust. Mm-hmm. You come and talk about your story, right? You're true believer of a story. Most of us, where you're building a business, if you don't believe in your story, you cannot wake up next morning and keep on pushing and keep on fighting, right? And if you're a true believer and you tell the story, then you have to make sure that your story is deliverable, that you need to execute it. It can, again, I think that investors in most cases, if they find the rationale, they're willing to wait, even if it takes a bit more time. And at the end of the day, you have to deliver what you said. I think, luckily, I would say that we have started working with the supermarket chain and created a lot of good feedback, positive feedback from the owner of the supermarkets and from the entire position inside the supermarket. And these feedbacks returned to us and for him, because he was involved in talking with the owners, understanding the benefits and differentiation point. And he found himself very much more engaged than initially, because at the end of the day, the presentation, the story, the pitch all came together with reality. Now it takes time, you have problems, but at the end of the day, if you are super transparent with the investors and you share with them the problems, because there's nothing without problems, right? You always have barriers, problems, delays, stuff like that. And I think that transparency is super important here. And you have to bring him and shift him to be your partners in terms of your thinking, challenging how you want to crack things. And then he's super engaged, and he has more patience to wait, even when times a bit more difficult.
Yeah. What is, just short answer, what's been the hardest part about this business? That's a big question, but yeah.
Well, agriculture, farming takes time. Result takes time. It's not a new software which you're doing an upgrade and you see the result immediately. Right. It's a long process, and to hold investors and to see the result of the process, which takes sometimes months and years. That's I think in agriculture it's much more difficult, and that's a challenge. How you mitigate the time frame between the story and the promising and the vision to reality.
Sure. Good. All right. Last question. Any tips or advice you'd give to either ag tech founders or, people approaching impact investors that we haven't covered? And lastly, any advice you would give your younger self if you could go back in time?
Yes. So I'll start with the second question with your permission. I would say the young guy to start being involved in ag decade or 15 years before. I think it's a super exciting territory, super exciting domain, and I wish I could go back and start involving in that much earlier. In terms of I would say fundraising, as you asked, or I think at the end of the day, my challenge at least was how in this intense vertical farming to find your differentiation point internally and then to share it with investors, of course. But once you find it and it's clear and you have a clear differentiation point with the story that is aligned to investors, to the customers, internally to your team, and you have everybody engaged and super passionate about what you do because you truly believe that you bring something new to the table and you're different from the others. I think that's the whole story.
Yeah. Good. Very good. All right. If people want to learn more, it's simply verticalfield.com, correct?
Exactly. Yes.
Is there any call to action or anything you want to promote or plug? Open call here.
Yeah, first we invite more people. If there is any question, you can send us your question through our website. We'll be more than willing to share our experience and share our vision. We, as part of our vision, would like to see more and more people are engaging in farming and landscaping and green and making our life in city much better. That's part of we are truly believers in that. I think part of our interview question, once we are hiring people, is to see how much they are keen in dealing with this type of. They can be the best software or mechanical engineer. But at the end of the day, I think that the fact that they're super passionate about what we're doing, that's a key component. And we'll be happy to see more and more people in that. I think that our life needs to be better in all the terms. And I think COVID shows us that effect that we need to keep Earth safe. We need to eat healthier, and to change a bit the way that we live.
Yeah, that's cool. Very good. Well, this is one of the coolest things I've seen. Check out verticalfield.com. Lots of cool imagery on the website. Makes you think about all the places this could go and be installed and stuff. Guy, I'll leave it here. Thank you very much. Good luck with everything, and hopefully the rollout will happen quickly, and we can have this lush green city when we fly over in our drones. So.
Hopefully, yeah. Nathan, it was a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me. It was a great pleasure to chat with you.
All right, over and out. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Take care.